Who's your commander?
Good luck.
Equip.
Move to combat.
Resolves.
Now, before you attack
Does
me,
anyone have an answer?
well played.
Good game.
Hello Magic players, my name is DJ and you're watching the Jumbo Commander YouTube channel. Today's video is all about Ultimate Masters. There has obviously been so much hype about this master set. It's the last one in a while, and so the reprints have been out of control. But do you know what? You don't need me to tell you to get Phyrexian Altar, Mana Vault, Ancient Tomb, all of the other amazing commander cards. There are really great budget pickups. Reprints at common or the rare reprints that have dropped the prices down have made cards great in Commander very available. So if you got a little bit of extra money, you might want to be spending it on these budget Commander cards. Personally, I'm going to be waiting until after the new year before I buy a lot of my Ultimate Masters cards, but I've noticed a little bit of a bump, a little bit of a swing up in some cards, and so I thought I'd make this video now in case people want to jump in now or wait a couple more weeks, because honestly, a lot of the card prices won't change very much. Before we get started, I want just to send a little heartfelt message out to you, the viewer. Thank you so much for watching this video. Many of you supporting me, leaving comments, liking my videos. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, whatever you're doing. Hopefully you're not at work. Hopefully you're enjoying family and friends. Maybe you're even playing Magic, I don't know. But all of my best wishes go out to you. And now, let's talk about the top 10 budget cards from Ultimate Masters. First up, we have Kodama's Reach. Coming in at 50 cents, this is a Commander staple that you should pick up. I can't believe it's maintaining that 50-cent price, even though it's a common from the set. So just grab these wherever you can and keep them around because they are excellent in any deck that can play it. Next we have Thespian Stage sitting at $1.30. This utility land is exactly what I'm looking for. It comes into play untapped, so it doesn't really slow down my mana progression, and it combos with so many interesting lands. Dark Depths is the obvious combo. By the way, Dark Depths also reprinted, but sitting at $26 does not make this budget list. But you don't need Dark Depths for Thespian Stage to be good. You can copy your opponent's Gaia's Cradle, you can copy your own Maze of Ith, or a Cabal Coffers, or honestly, any land. It really doesn't matter because Thespian Stage is so flexible. Next up is Seize the Day. At 35 cents, this card is now super budget. It's 3 and a red for a sorcery that lets you untap a creature, and it gives you an additional combat step. And it has flashbacks, so you can get a combat step twice in a row. Extra combat steps used to be something that was pretty hard to achieve, and it used to be pretty expensive. But now we have a lot of different cards that can reproduce this effect. We just had Relentless Assault reprinted, and that untaps all the creatures, not just one. Remember, Seize the Day can only untap a single creature. But it can give you multiple combat steps because it has that flashback. I think that this is really important in certain decks, like Atali Primal Storm, where you only really want one creature attacking to get that benefit. Atali comes down when you have 6 CMC, and then the next turn when you have 7, you can attack with Atali, get that trigger, Seize the Day, attack with Atali, get that trigger, Seize the Day, attack with Atali, get that trigger. I've also had a lot of fun with this card in Yidris Maelstrom Wielder. I think that this is a fun effect, and it is certainly powerful considering the price tag of just 35 cents. Next we have Buried Alive. Used to be worth $3 or $4, now is down to 60 cents. This lets you search your library for up to 3 creature cards and put them into your graveyard. Now on its own, Buried Alive doesn't really do anything, but we all know that's not true. This could be a triple creature tutor in the right deck. Let's also compare this to another card in the set, Entomb. Coming in at $7, Buried Alive is like a triple Entomb. I know Entomb can get any card and Buried Alive is only limited to creatures, but really with Commander, we can afford spending a little bit of extra mana to get a bigger effect. And with this, you get a bonus discount card, Anger, coming in at 25 cents. Just imagine you Buried Alive Anger straight into your graveyard and suddenly everything has haste. Anger is a really sweet card, and Buried Alive really allows you for so many shenanigans. I think that it's definitely a good pickup at 60 cents. Next is a monster Woodall Pris 8 CMC for a 6/6 trample, and it destroys target non-creature permanent. Woodall Pris is also a very redundant threat because it has persist. I love Woodall Pris in so many different situations. Recently I love him in Cube because you can sneak attack Woodall Pris in, destroy a non-creature permanent, smash for 6, and then when you sacrifice it at the end of turn, it persists back and then smashes something else. In fact, that persist allows for so many different shenanigans. If you combine it with a sack outlet, Phyrexian Altar maybe, also in the set, that allows you to sacrifice the Woodall Pris at any time, blowing up a second creature. But if you combine that with Vizier of Remedies or Malira Sylvic Outcast, preventing that persist counter to go onto the Woodall Pris, then you can just keep blowing up everything, all of their lands, all their non-creature permanents, just go crazy, recurring Woodall Pris over and over and over again. Yeah, this is a pretty powerful creature. Alright, next we have one of my favorite draw spells, Dig Through Time. 6 blue, but you're not paying 8 for this. This has Delve. A lot of time I'm playing this for 2, 3, 4 mana, and this lets you dig 7 cards deep and pick the best 2 to go into your hand. This is a lot of card selection more than card advantage. I think the real draw of Dig Through Time is that it's instant speed. I'd like to compare this to one of the best draw spells ever, Fact or Fiction. Fact or Fiction costs 4. Dig Through Time on its average case scenario, I think probably costs 4 as well. So I would say that they have similar costs, although Dig Through Time might have more variance in terms of its cost. Okay, Fact or Fiction is instant speed, Dig Through Time is instant speed. Those are huge pluses when you're playing draw spells. Fact or Fiction goes 5 cards deep, Dig Through Time goes 7 cards deep. Okay, Fact or Fiction, a lot of the time the 2 cards you need will be split. Dig Through Time, you'll often get the 2 exact cards that you need. In my mind, this might push Dig Through Time ahead just a little bit. But I prefer Fact or Fiction because of the political aspect. So many times you can cast Fact or Fiction, and someone might give you 5 cards in one pile and 0 cards in the other. And you pick the 5 card spot. So Fact or Fiction does have that little bit of political aspect to it, whereas Dig Through Time is just so solid. I really love the Delve mechanic too, because the CMC is so high, but you can cast it for so little. So this synergizes really well with cards like Sunbird's Invocation, going 8 cards deep, even though you only paid a couple mana for it. Same thing with Yidris Maelstrom Wielder, again, being able to cascade for 8 rather than something much lower. Rush Me, Eternity's Crafter, Sorin Grim Nemesis, flipping this over, dealing a ton of damage to your opponents. Vile Smasher, dealing 8 damage instead of just 2 or 3, and this going off at your opponent's turn. And Yuriko, again, flipping this over, dealing 8 to someone when you're just using it as a quick draw spell. You can see how Dig Through Time is just a strong role player in so many different decks. Okay, let's talk about one of my favorite hate bears that's been out of budget for so long, and that's Containment Priest. 1 and a white for a 2/2 human cleric, and if a non-token creature would enter the battlefield and it wasn't cast, exile it instead. This prevents your opponents from cheating all those things into play. Containment Priest is coming in at $3, but it used to be so expensive because she's used in Legacy to prevent people from cheating Emrakul's into play. But Containment Priest is just as effective in our format. It works against a lot of different cards, but we also have to pay attention to cards that it doesn't work with. Cards like Tooth and Nail that search your library for creatures and put them straight onto the battlefield get hosed by Containment Priest, but a Tali Primal Storm can just cast them off the top of your library. That will enter the battlefield. Cards that blink over and over again, like Brago, King Eternal, blinking your entire board out to get huge value, can be interrupted by a timely Containment Priest coming in and keeping all those cards in exile. But some reanimator strategies like the Scarab God brings tokens straight onto the battlefield, and tokens are not affected by Containment Priest. A lot of reanimation effects can be interrupted, like Rise of the Dark Realms. Someone thinks they're playing a spell to win the game, and then suddenly Containment Priest says, oh no, those are all just exiled. And other ways to cheat mana cost, like Joda, actually does have you cast them even though it changes the casting cost. So Containment Priest doesn't work in every single situation, but it works a lot of different times, and if you're looking for a hate bear, this could definitely interrupt your opponent's plans. Next, we have the most expensive card on this list, Fauna Shaman. 1 and a green for a 2/2 elf shaman, and for green and tap, you can discard a creature card, search your library for a creature card, and put it into your hand. Fauna Shaman is coming in at $3.50. Its price plummeted. Okay, but this effect is so powerful. Survival of the Fittest is the same thing, kinda. But Survival of the Fittest is $91. I know it's an enchantment and that makes it a little bit more resilient than a creature. It costs a green and doesn't tap, okay, which again, better than the creature. But $91 on the reserve list versus now $3.50. You know, being a creature could have some other advantages. It's an elf, meaning that it could have elf synergies. Creatures are typically easier to search up than enchantments. In fact, Survival of the Fittest can get Fauna Shaman, but it can't get a Survival of the Fittest. All right, the big difference is the price. I mean, come on, the price difference is insane. Next, we have Eternal Witness. You knew it was going to make this list. It's only $3 now. Recently, I've talked about how I think Eternal Witness is a little bit overrated. People throw it in every single deck. So when you're picking up your Eternal Witnesses, and by the way, you should pick it up. It's a very, very good card. You should make sure that they're using the body. Use this 2/1. How do you use it? Well, you can Birthing Pod it away into a 4-drop. That is a perfect use. You could be playing a card like Muldrotha of the Gravetide, and so when Eternal Witness goes to your graveyard, then you can play it again, getting double value. You should blink it with Rune of the Hidden Realm, getting more and more things back from your graveyard. I really think that there are tons of ways to properly use Eternal Witness, and it's not bad if you just throw it in any old green deck, but one thing that you might want to consider are bigger spells. We're a big mana format, and so if your meta is a little bit slower and you can afford to play a 6-drop, Seasons Past can get back 5 cards from your graveyard. That's the kind of thing that could break a game wide open. Praetor's Council, 8 mana. This does not go in every single deck or in every single playgroup, but this is the kind of effect that just blows a game wide open. This is the big battle cruiser magic. So yes, go buy Eternal Witnesses, but make sure you're using that body and consider some of the bigger, splashier effects, because if your meta's slow enough, then you might as well take advantage of your friends. This is the last card of my top 10 list, and it is Gamble. Gamble is under $3. This used to be such an expensive card. Gamble is a single red, and you can search your library for a card, put that card into your hand, discard a card at random, then shuffle your library. So many people are afraid of this randomness, but honestly, Gamble can be so good. It lets you tutor in red for exactly what you need. And in red, many times, a graveyard strategy is something that's already accepted. So getting something into your graveyard isn't even that bad. Gamble is really an effect that is hard to reproduce in the color. It's hard to imagine something this cheap. I think that if you try this card out, you will be pleasantly surprised. And that has been my top 10 budget commander pickups from Ultimate Masters. If you want to look at the list and if you want to buy them at the cheapest prices, check out my link in the description. It'll take you to tcgplayer.com. Thank you tcgplayer.com for sponsoring the Jumbo Commander YouTube channel, along with all my patrons who definitely sponsor the Jumbo Commander YouTube channel, supporting me all the time. I want to thank everyone, and I want to thank you for watching and wish you a happy holidays, and I'll see you all really soon for more Commander videos. Bye-bye.